The 2025 Sunbet ZX10 Masters Cup is proudly brought to you by Sunbet, Bridgestone, the tyre of choice, VAG Automotive Centurion, and EBC Brakes.
What an awesome opportunity to be at Kyalami for the Festival of Motoring, and of course round 5 and 6 of the Sunbet ZX10 Masters Cup took place at the Festival of Motoring, and the reason for it, of course, is the massive crowd that pops in here over the weekend. Over 30,000 people joining us for an incredible weekend's racing, and of course lots of action on track and all around the circuit as well. Great to see the guys getting up close and personal. Are those autographs to each other, boys? I think they might be, hey? Now, Byron Rothko, biggest fan base there, getting some signatures from his own riders. But what a way to leverage a sponsorship here for Sunbet, for Bridgestone, for VAG, and for EBC Brakes. You don't get a much better and bigger crowd to entertain over a weekend than you do at the Festival of Motoring. And of course, it's just great to see how these riders have taken to the fact that almost 30 of them are about to go to battle here over 2 days of racing at the Festival of Motoring and round 5 of the Sunbet ZX10 Masters Cup. It's not only opportunities, of course, for Bridgestone to showcase their material and what they provide as our race rubber for the weekend, but it also gives us a chance to let the other people around the world see just how great this tyre is in this one-make series and the long-standing relationship that we've had with the Bridgestone brand. And joining them, of course, this year was VAG and EBC Brakes. And EBC Brakes, of course, also showing off some of its wears and tears and giving the ability of the riders to use them to very good use, because here at Kyalami, there are a lot of hard braking corners. And after big accelerations, especially down the main straightaway towards Crowthorne, turn 1 can be exceptionally difficult if there's no brakes available. So hopefully all of these guys will have them set up to perfection by the time we get into race action throughout this weekend.
So we're here with Dieter Huisman. Dieter, round 5 of the Sunbet ZX10 Masters Cup here at Kyalami for the Festival of Motoring. How was your qualifying?
It started off a bit rough. Unfortunately, got pulled into a lot of traffic. Luckily and unluckily, there was a red flag. So I managed to line up again, and I got a nice tow from Reggie. So that put me 13th on the grid. So at least that helped me out. A very, very good qualifying at the end of the day. My aim was always top 15 for the weekend, and so far it's been 13th and 13th.
Great stuff. Well, best of luck for the 2 races coming up shortly.
Thank you so much.
Dieter, you might want to pass on some of that good luck to this man, Brian Bontekoning, who got a little bit out of shape coming out of the infamous cheetah corner. And he's not the first rider to ever do that. And of course, there's a couple of riders who've done that in the past that have ended up a lot worse for wears than what Brian Bontekoning has just done down into cheetah and literally sliding all the way down to the final corner at Ingwe. So a little bit of work to be done there. And yeah, it's shoulder rolls there, but not from Brian Bontekoning. He's definitely going to be feeling that pain though, and possibly even very similar pain to what we experience after a big crash like that. Needless to say though, it is almost time to go racing, and of course we've got qualifying to sort out first and foremost. There are going to be a couple of qualifying sessions as always in the ZX10 Masters Cup. And just before we get into qualifying, let's get some fuel in the body. Good return there from Dave Enticott. We saw a bit earlier on as well the welcome return of a couple of other new riders and some old men of the mountains who are joining us, and I say that with the greatest of respect. To see Peter de Vos back in the field is fantastic. Jacques Cruz will be fighting hard with him for honours in Class C. And it looks like Peter Labuschagne is just showing Mrs. Van Breda. It turns right at the second corner, then left, and then there's a right-hand flick. A little bit of directions there. New leathers. Aha! Bontekoning seems to be sorted out. That's a good sign. Hopefully, we'll be up and racing and able to run at the front end, which is exactly what he needs to do to try and stay in contention for Class C honours in this championship. The championship is not done yet, but it's almost there. Kinsella has basically got one hand on the trophy, and a good weekend here over the 4 races will definitely cement him getting closer and closer to wrapping up a back-to-back title for ZX10 Masters Cup. But we've still got lots of race action to come your way with 4 races this weekend, 2 rounds, 5 and 6, and of course we've still got a couple more rounds to go after that. 1 down in Cape Town and a couple more to wrap up the season before we can crown the eventual champion for 2025. As they come to line up on the grid, Clint Seller is on pole position. He got down to 1:48.9. He's ahead of Damien Purificati, almost a second off his pace. Graham Van Bardar there alongside him for the front row. Second row is Hein McMahon and Dave Enticott. Keith Agliotti, great outing for him on that second row, in 6th place for Ridgeway Race Bar. Adrian Van Dalen, he's up on the 3rd row, heading that one up ahead of Brian Bontekoning. Then Mark Newland, great to have him back on the motorcycle as well. James Barson, probably not what he wanted that far down on the 4th row of the grid, but ahead of Peter de Vos and Reggie Seal. And we've got Dieter Hazeman, as we heard, lucky foot number 13 for him, ahead of Johan Leroux. Then Henk Kruger. Tyron Piper is just ahead of Safiso Temba, who'll be starting from 17th on the grid. Steve Galgocci is alongside him. Row 7 is made up of Lubas. He's there, of course, just ahead of Byron Rothwell and Renatus Vanikak, Jacques Cruz and Raymond Keel. And then a good effort from Nico Zietsman to get up there as well. Fighting hard at the back will be Nkululeko Majola. He's ahead of Henk Scaling. And Timo Green won't be with us on this start, but he'll definitely be tomorrow, as he's got dual duties this weekend. We head down towards turn 1. The lights are out and we are racing. And this is going to be 8 laps of tremendous action. Expected to see the all-gold livery. Just to see a little bit of a change-up on that livery coming from the King Price Kawasaki and our championship leader overall and in Class A, Tinsella. He leads down into Crowthorne Corner, but the first 3 remain the same, as it is going to be Damien Purificati just ahead there of Graham Van Bardar. GVBD into 3rd place. Look, a couple of guys having to sit up into turn 1 after running a little bit hot down into Crowthorne Corner. Let's have a look at it here from Henk Kruger's point of view. Let's start from him. Just remember, coming from 15th on the grid and now making his way through the field pretty rapidly. That's up about 2 or 3 places as they head down towards Crowthorne Corner. He comes up alongside Jimmy Barson. Oh, how's that start from September though? 17th on the grid, and he makes his way up into the top 10. He's one of the riders who made a couple of riders sit up there, I think, after that awesome start. The IM63 man, he's absolutely flying. We want to start there from him. Remember, he's now running under some new colours for this rest of the season. Fantastic to see the Mzansi Motorsport guys getting behind him, and he'll be looking to try and fly the flag high for them, as this man has done all season long for King Price and Lequimoli. The man from PS Brand, he is, of course, the man to catch in all aspects of ZX10 Masters Cup, and he's doing such an incredible job to try and stay at the front end. And on the first lap, leads by a pretty decent margin, as you can see, as they come out of Sunset into Clubhouse. Second pack of bikes is starting to heat up, though. You can see you've got Dave Enticott in there. He's on the all-grey machine and running, of course, in Cape Town colours. He's on the Ravenol South Africa bike, and the Motorwire is also helping him out. But, of course, he's making a welcome return after a little bit of a lay-by on the sidelines. And nice to see the man from Cape Town back on the track. His fellow Cape Townian, of course, Trevor Westman, will be joining us when we get down to the Killarney round in a couple of weekends' time. So fantastic to see the race action continuing and the return of the Killer Westman after that big crash he had at Damstip. This man's had a fantastic weekend so far. Fighting in that top 5. Look out for Agliotti. Looking to try and push his way up, possibly even onto the overall podium. That's the kind of pace he's found this weekend, and looking forward to put it all together there for Bioclean and Ridgeway Race Bar. They come down to Crocodiles. First time we see them into Crocodiles, and a little bit of a change up there, as you can see, in that second pack of riders, led out at this point in time by Adrian Van Dalen. Van Dalen pushing hard on the VAG Automotive Centre machine, and then a bit further back from that, this man leads out the third pack of riders, and that is Dieter Hazeman, who's just ahead of Tyron Piper as they come down into Crocodiles, by the looks of it. Renatus Vanikak about to join them, and I think there's a good possibility that maybe they'll be catch the back end of Henk Kruger and bring Steve Galgocci into that fight as well. We'll wait and see as things pan out here after this first lap is completed in anger. This is Seller in full flight and doing everything right as he comes across the line now with a decent margin over second place. And you can see that second place is Damien Purificati pushing hard. Back down into Crowthorne, and the slow-mo shot there of the King. He's absolutely hauling around here. No one really got an answer. There is a bit of a maneuver happening, though, as you can see there just in the background, from Adrian Van Dalen. He's caught onto the back end of Graham Van Bardar. GBBD under a bit of threat. Then you've got Brian Bontekoning fighting hard in that second pack. This is the third pack. Tyron Piper now moving, just squeezing slightly ahead and getting through there on Dieter Hazeman. So chopping and changing there between the Pump Elect machine and the East Rand Bike and Boat Kawasaki. That one, of course, very much like a Ducati, the Marlboro colours. 43 at the back of the pack, still continuing to improve every single time he gets on board his Sunbet bike. Nkululeko Majola is certainly becoming a big threat and is moving his way through this field pretty rapidly. He's now fighting it out there with Nico Zietsman, and Henk Scaling not too far behind that. So a three-way fight at the back of the pack between those riders. I'm looking forward to that continuing all the way through this next couple of laps. About 5.5 laps to go now as we come up onto the back straightaway. And of course, this is where the pits were for the ZX10s at the Festival of Motoring. Incredible to see such a massive crowd on the sidelines as well. You can see the car park down the bottom there, absolutely ram-packed. And that's exactly what these riders are expecting to see. All around the circuit, in fact. There down in the bottom of the bowl, lots of cars parked on the right-hand side of the shot that we've got here. There you can see it just on the left-hand side. Lots of cars parked there. Old school Kyalami style, getting huge amounts of crowds in here. And lots of entertainment being provided by the ZX10 Masters Cup as they head back down into the S's. Tricky little section this. Left-hander into a big flowing right-hander. Graham Van Bredal makes it look real easy through there. But it's not that easy, I can tell you. And he's having a bit of a tough time trying to close in onto the back end there of Damien Purificati. The reason he's having a tough time is he's got a bit of a fight on his hands. This man's dropped back slightly, so slightly not quite in the battle. Hein McMahon not able to bridge that gap to Van Dalen and Van Bredal, but he's not too far behind that. And he's now falling into the clutches, unfortunately, because of that lack of pace that he's found. Hein McMahon is now in the mix there with Mark Newland and James Barson. So the three of them are going to be having a fight. Hair-raising stuff is what we've got here at Kyalami. How was that? To see some local wildlife hauling across the circuit and giving us a bit of extra, like a mobile chicane going through there. It's a difficult enough chicane as it is, guys. Let's not chuck in a little bit extra difficult work for these riders. Not looking difficult at all for this man here. I can tell you what an improvement coming out of Adrian Van Dalen. Van Dalen is looking for a chance to possibly be... Oh, and as I say that, the rider goes down into turn one. It's Bontekoning again. Oh, it's such a pity. On the Jag Power Products and Compressors machine has gone down for the second time this weekend. We saw the massive high side he had in qualifying. This time, just losing the front end as he went down into Crowthorne Corner. Back up and riding though, that's a good sign. He has to get up, he has to try and finish this race. Try and finish up at least in the top 3 in Class C to stay in contention for Class C honours in the championship. You can see the riders now starting to get into the mix. This is where things start to change up ever so slightly. Barson also on the move there, all yellow bike. That's the Steel Monkey Kawasaki that he's on board. I'm going to try and close the gap down there a little bit. James Barson looking to get up onto Mark Newland and maybe onto the back end of McMahon if he can. That's the pressure that's being put on here in the first half of this race. Now getting into the second half, they've got to try and all keep it together. Stay upright, find the rhythm, stay in that rhythm, and don't make silly mistakes. A little bit of a mistake there from Henk Scaling. It's allowed Majolo to close in on that battle at the back end as we watch the Steel Monkey bike hauling through Sunset Corner and heading up towards Clubhouse. Closing in on Mark Newland. So the Fafu electrical group machine about to be closed in there by that Steel Monkey and Pro-Proof waterproofing machine of James Barson. Nice little battle between the two of them. That's kind of 8th and 9th. It's the last of the single digits available between those two motorcycles. Purificati continues on his way, but cannot find the pace that Clincella is setting. He's about a second and a half quicker than anybody else on circuit at the moment. Purificati was only the man who got even close to the lap times that Clint was doing on the day and also throughout qualifying. But nice to see that there is improvements in all the riders. And the reason for the improvements, of course, is having a rider like Sella and Purificati, and of course on a few occasions, Helen John Fenter, Trevor the Killer Westman is another man that will add to the spice I'm about to chat about. The spice I'm talking about is with a fast rider out front, everybody ups their games. They see the target, they aim for the target, they start to push themselves a little bit harder than what they would usually do. And with that, the motorcycles become quicker, lap times start to drop, and improvements in your own skills are seen dramatically. And it's fantastic to see, all because of what we're seeing in the ZX10 Masters Cup and the continued improvement amongst the riders at the front end of this field. Watching the second pack now heading into Ingwe Corner, the final turn at Kyalami. The battle's on there. Van Dalen looks like he's got his sights purely set on Graham Van Bredal, but behind him, Enticott McMahon and Mark Newland starting to really get into each other and putting the pressure onto each other as well for that 4th, 5th and 6th place fight. Looks like it could be raging right to the end in the checkered flag when it comes out eventually. What these riders will be thinking, when is that checkered flag coming out? Van Bredal will certainly be thinking that now as there's a move on the inside. Van Dalen sneaking up on the inside, so it's Class A 1, 2 and 3 on track now. Class B is second. That's with Graham Van Breda. Then you've got 3 more Class A competitors. Mark Newland joins the 3 of them as the second of the Class B riders. And it looks like there's going to be a bit of a fight on here. Further back, nice little run here from Peter de Vos. Oh, does it say that? So piece of timber goes down. Timber goes down in Crowthorne and just loses it slightly going into Crowthorne corner. Very similar kind of crash to what we saw coming from Brian Bontekoning earlier on. It just didn't work out there for the IM63 man. That is going to put him out of this one, unfortunately. Nick Mimoli and National Motorsport Mzansi and Wakahinya Racing Machine. Have a look at it from on board. This is the rear view. He just loses the front gear, just rolls over and slides onto the side of the circuit and out of contention. Yellow flags waving in the background. Orange Army doing a super job to warn the slower riders coming from behind that there is a rider down. It's allowed an opportunity here for a bit of a change-up. Nico Zitzman has got ahead of Nkululeko Majola and now closing in on the back end of Henk Scalen. So 3-way fight at the back still for 23rd, 4th and 5th place on the road. 79 machine cruising through here. Nice to see Nico Zitzman with that improvement. I just mentioned him and I can tell you something. There's going to be a bit of a fight on there for those final positions on the circuit. Here's a fight of note. There you go, up the inside. Hein McMahon eventually squeezing out. And as I say that, oh, there's another crash. That is Agliotti. Agliotti's gone down at the top of the hill at Leeuwkop. And that is going to be the end of the race for him as well. He was pushing hard to try and keep McMahon out and Entercott. And unfortunately, just lost the front end as well. So a couple of front-end crashes there. One at the bottom end of the circuit where we're seeing this man, Brian Bontekoning, make a welcome return. He's made his way up into, I think, just outside of the top 20 there by the looks of it. 21st place is where he is at the moment. And we watch Jacques Cruz going through there. Jacques Cruz now, of course, will have moved up to 3rd place overall in Class C with the demise of Bontekoning. So it's going to be a case of Peter de Vos leading with about a lap to go in Class C ahead of Johan Leroux. Then Jacques Cruz, then Raymond Keel, and Bontekoning down in 5th. That's the reason why Bontekoning got back up on the bike to continue the race. He cannot afford to lose any points, and if there's still points up for grabs, he's got to grab them with as much as he can, because that championship is not sorted out just yet. Neither are all of the championships. The one that I can say has basically got one hand on the trophy is Sella for Class A, and possibly for the overall. But there's still a couple of mathematical things that can happen that may allow Graham Van Breda back into the mix. We see the riders coming through there. That's JLR. Quite on the same kind of pace that we see from Johan Leroux. He's normally a little bit quicker than that, but needless to say, the oldest man on the circuit is still doing a superb job and always does. As we're getting into the closing stages here of this first race of 4 this weekend at Kyalami. I think you've got 4 races at Kyalami. What a way to go. What an opportunity for not only our own sponsors in Sunbet, Bridgestone, EBC and VAG, but guys like this. Here we go. How's that new livery? That's a Kyalami livery coming out of the 37 bike of Byron Rothwell. Mag Magic. Yeah, it looks magic, that bike, that's for sure. Cool warehouse and electrical. Of course, we'll be happy with that. A couple of guys going all out for this weekend, including Kinsella, of course, with that all-gold livery on the King Price Kawasaki. It looks really cool. A couple of guys that have been around since the inception of this class. As I said earlier on, Peter de Vos leading Class C. He's ahead there of Reggie Seal, and looks like JLR just behind him. So Johan Leroux resuming a battle that he's had on numerous occasions with Peter de Vos for Class C. Class A and B still up for grabs, as we watched there. A little bit of manoeuvring from Van Breda, trying to close back down on Van Dalen, but I think Van Breda is going to settle for that 4th place and get the win in Class B. That's more important to him. And then a couple of slow-mo shots here, MotoGP-esque style here, watching our top riders come through there. The Steel Monkey Kawasaki of James Parson, and now Sella heading to the checkered flag. An incredible run here from Kinsella. He's going to come across the line to take the victory. It's a long margin up the road there. He finishes up about 8 seconds up the road from 2nd place, Damien Purificati. Van Dalen was right on his tail. We're going to try and close that gap down, and Van Breda just behind him. So Van Breda and Van Dalen actually crossing the line, and only a couple of hundredths of a second between the two of them. Massive thanks once again to the Orange Army, the Kyalami and SWAT Corps Combined Marshals Association for all of the effort that they put in to give us a fantastic day's racing and to keep us safe. And to the medical team and race control behind the scenes as well. It's always great to have such a good event. And to get 8 laps of racing in is a superb start to the weekend for round 5 of the ZX10 Masters Cup. So the man who would be king, he's not quite there yet, but it's almost done and dusted. Seller comes through, JLR comes through, he'll be in second place for Class C's there. Good effort there from Johan Leroux on the 4-4 bike. And always nice to come into a pit lane that's busy. The reason it's so busy, of course, a lot of these people have come down to this paddock area where the ZX10s are pitted for the weekend, because there are a couple of hot laps available in some cars. And when you've got riders coming in, of course, making noise on motorcycles, that just brings the crowd in. It also brings back a couple of friendly faces we haven't seen around in ZX10. Good to see Ricky Moraes on the sideline there, helping out with a couple of motorcycles this weekend from MTech Racing. And everybody now going to be chatting about how the race went. Watch for the gesticulations amongst the riders. I love getting into the Park for May area and then watching how things went and checking out the motorcycle terminology. Yeah, on the brakes, I went in, I hit the brakes, I turned in, the front lost it slightly, and then it was brap, and yeah, I've got it a little bit sideways. And fantastic to see it. Also good to see that they've enjoyed all 8 of the race laps of action. There you go, a prime example. Trying to push was Mark Newland. And then you got Henk Kruger having a little chat too. Yeah, Ricky Moraes saying, yeah, maybe there's a little bit extra that we can find out there for Damien Purificati. Let's see what happens now as we head into race 2. But number 1 for race 1, it's all about Kinsella. But let's get confirmation of those results. Our official results, of course, for race number 1. Kinsella taking Class A ahead of Damien Purificati and Adrian Vandal, and those were the top 3 overall as well. Class B's winner was Graham Van Breda down in 4th place. He beats out Mark Newland, down in 7th for Class B 2nd, and James Barson in 3rd in 8th for Class B. Class C went to De Vos. He was down in 9th place overall, beating out Johan Leroux in 11th. And then we go all the way down into 18th place for João Cruz for the top 3 in Class C. Great effort there from Lubabalo and Sana as well. Watch out for him, hopefully finding a little bit of extra pace in the second heat later on today. And of course, also watching out for the massive improvement still coming from Nico Zitzman and Majola. At the final turn of the events there, have a look and see. Brian Bontekoning did finish up. He was in 5th place in Class C, down in 21st place, but still scoring points. And that's vital. Can he get that motorcycle sorted out in time for race number 2? We'll have to wait and see.
So we're here with Majola. Majola, it's great to see you out once again in the Sunbet ZX10 Masters Cup. Round 5 here at Kyalami, the Festival of Motoring. It is quite a hot day out here. How was your qualifying race 1 and race 2?
So qualifiers went well. It's the first time on the bike and it's the first sort of round that I'm doing. So it was basically just getting to gel with the bike and just see what I can do. So I qualified 25th with a time of 2:04, and heat 1 ran really well, but I got stuck behind the guys at the back, so only dropped to 2:02. So I'm happy with the progress and also just learning the bike, as I said, and slowly building it up.
Well, there we go. So are you putting some fresh Bridgestones on for tomorrow? Hopefully you can dip into those 59s.
I had a look at my tires. They still look good. I think I'm just going to keep them and try my best.
You see, that's the thing about Bridgestones.
Yeah.
You hardly ever have to change them because they just last and they grip forever.
That's exactly my mistake. I did qualifiers with them. I've raced them. I don't feel any slide. I don't feel the tires stepping out, so I think we're still good.
The 2025 Sunbet ZX10 Masters Cup is proudly brought to you by Sunbet, Bridgestone, the tire of choice, VAG Automotive Centre Centurion, and EBC Brakes.